Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Uh, Again, we're here on Sunday. This is a little different from some of our programs. We're still having one program per month, which we'll have one at the end of this month. And during the month of Ramadan, inshallah, which, believe it or not, is close. I mean, it's 3 weeks away, something like that. So this DVD that we're making now, we're calling it an infomercial because we want to take this DVD and we want to pass it out during this month, the rest of this month, and during Ramadan. During Ramadan, this will be accompanied by an introduction to Masjid al-Islam, about who we are, what we're doing, what we've been doing, what we're trying to do. But this one is what we might call an infomercial. So the first thing that we have to talk about is who are we? When you see us out there with boxes, the number one thing you might think of is these people are begging for money and da-da-da-da-da. So you can put that out of your mind. We are not beggars, we are mujahids. And for this reason, we are the only mujahids in this region. Mujahids mean that we are struggling for psychological liberation, intellectual liberation, and physical liberation from a Zionist oppressive system that we are all under at this time. So we say we're mujahids, not beggars. So when you see us, you think of us as mujahids. And also when you think of us, we want you to think of us as if we're mujahids, then we need what mujahideen need. We need your support. We need your help. We need your assistance. So when you're helping us, you're not helping beggars, right? You're helping mujahids who are struggling in the cause of Allah. And when you think about this area, the Washington, D.C. area, we have to fill you in on what we've been doing here and in Oakland. Here, we've been here about 32 years now, 33 years. That ain't nothing to us, but it's a long time for general people. And the thing that have got us this far is tafweed and rida. Wafada means when Moses, in certain situations, he says, I'm turning my whole affair over to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? He's turning his whole thing over to Allah. That's wafada, that's tafweed. That's what we did years ago. We turned this whole affair over to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because in studying our history, we had to see, well, what has happened to people like us, And if we go back just 40 years ago, one of our great friends, who was the Imam down in Dixie, I remember in 1983, I was traveling around the country and I made a few stops here and there, and I was informing him of what was happening to me as I went around. And he said, I said, man, when I was in Iowa, I went to this nice masjid, and I was talking to people about dawah, and they was asking me questions, and they said, well, how do we get to the good people? They meant Europeans. Actually, they're up in Iowa. It's a reasonable question. I said, well, you can go in prisons and what have you. They said, no, but we want to go to the good people. I said, that's where the good people are. A lot of the good people, that's where you want to get a response. You go and visit the prisons. The people will be happy to see you, right? And that's the only place at that time in 83 and in the early 80s where dawah was welcome. right? It was welcome in those places. So anyway, when I got down to Dixie, I was informing uh, one of the well-known imams and mujahids. I was telling him about it. He said, well, yeah, he said, man, that's not only what you just experienced was I've seen the paperwork on that. That's a policy. It was a policy. It was just changed from MSA to ISNA. Yeah, that's a policy. Hey, man, to go, and the head of the Dawa was Daoud Zwink and another guy. They're both Europeans, and they was head of Dawa, and they headed it down there in Minneapolis, whatever that is, Plainfield, Indiana. It wasn't, but nobody but African Americans was coming to Islam, but they had their head of Dawa and the vice president was Europeans. And later on, even 10 years later, the president of ISNA was a European lady. Nice lady, but she was a European lady. And it might have been 10 European Muslims in America. I mean, there was more, of course. But you could see the trend. They had a certain trend. They didn't respond to the people that was taking the front line on struggle. Okay, we've been on the front line of struggle. And us, As-Sabiqun, we're still on the front line. Sabiq, you go out first, you win the race, you face the challenges, and then you keep on going about your business. You don't wait around for congratulations or welcomes and all of that. So when you see us, we want you to think of us as mujahids, not beggars. So we're going to take this DVD. After it's transcribed, we're going to deal for the rest of this month and for Ramadan. And Ramadan, this will be accompanied by a flyer that explains more in detail, which some of the things we'll bring out today. So our policy have always been one. You look at all if we were a regular organization, we would depend on management and advertisement and all that. We didn't do that. We never have done that. Even before we knew the words, we turned our whole affair over to Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. I think I showed y'all one copy of 1986 when they had stole a lot of our, a lot of the records and things and an accordion folder and it's there. That's when we set this policy back then. And it's basically tafweed. And that means we've turned our whole affairs over to Allah. If that was over 35 years ago or more, then that turning our affairs over to Allah, according to what we've been dealing with, is exactly the right policy. And then Rida means we're happy. We say radiyallahu anhu, radiyallahu anha, we are pleased. May Allah be pleased with him. May Allah be pleased with her, right? So we are pleased. Rida means we are pleased with what we've gotten from Allah. We're happy with it. Okay, so that's the first part. That this might be an infomercial, but we want you to understand who we are and where we're coming from. And also, when you think about us, we want you to remember us think about us in the context in which we're living. We used to do demonstrations downtown a lot. And I remember we had one combination. The first part of the demonstration that was dealing with Palestine. One group of people had 125,000 people in it. The other group had about 100,000. When we combined right down there on the mall, it come out to 200,000 people, something, 200 and some thousand people. We're doing security, and I placed myself right behind a sister that was a congresswoman. What was her name at that time? The sister that was McKinney. I placed myself right behind her, and so was a few more brothers for certain reasons. Because CARE and all these people who have found out to be criminals, and we knew that then. And also we knew where we were placing ourselves. We had her back. You look at any of the films from that era, we still got some. You look at it and you see I'm standing right in back of her. So the camera will see that we got her back. And the other people will see that we got her back. Why? Because none of the people that invited her had her back. She dealt with Palestine. She dealt with all those issues, right? And just like her father said, she said it's the Zionists on her case. When she was insulted and kept up all night, her being harassed down in Atlanta and all of that, you never saw CARE or any of them come to her rescue, right? And during those times, this is later, we've been under so much challenge that we haven't been able to respond to a lot of friends that we have. The brothers called me from Haiti 2-3 times a day. I'm going to just have to answer the phone and say, I would hate to say that, but we can't help you right now. Just like now, some years ago, when this brother was martyred, right? This brother was martyred in New York. In Detroit. This is also another friend from Imam Jamil's community. He was martyred in 2009. And his wife called and said, we don't even have, I think you attended that janazah, right? And the brothers didn't raise no funds, right? Not there. I didn't hear about any funds being raised. Did you hear about? Okay, well, just think about it. He's got a community. Everybody knows their economic conditions. Everybody knows what they've been dealing with. Whoever gave the khutbah, and I mean, if it was thousands of people there, like say it was 3,000 people there. If all of them gave $10, that's something like $30,000. That'll help get you to the next stop. That'll help, right? And they're going to get more because they had to travel from this far. They got $100 bill. They're going to drop it in the thing, especially the janazah. They didn't say nothing. They didn't say nothing because they're part of a cabal. The cabal of Negro imams who are basically snitches, tattletales, and coons. That's what they are. That's the way we figure. That's their behavior. They're coons. Now, his wife called me and said, we don't even have a gravestone. I said, well, how much is it? So she said, well, $1,100. I said, just stand by the box and it'll be there in a minute. Now, this is 2009. This is when we're the encirclement of us. Now, the Imam out in California then retired a year before. So that meant he didn't pull back. The people we have in place are getting ready or in the process of launching attacks already from out there. So the days of having big money when we would spend, if we say we had our school here, you look at the beautiful children, let's say out of 10 years we spent $500,000, cash money, because the heating, this place, the heaters go on all day. And trips, if they had trips, some of the teachers would say they wasn't able to pay for their trip. So I said, just take them anyway. Here, take the money and go, take them on a trip. And somebody was thousands of dollars behind. At that time, a lot of people was, but this one was over $3,000 behind, on the tuition, which is technically nothing. We're going to stop them from coming. I say you would mess up their grades and their other stuff. The kid's a good student, right? Straight A student, yeah. Okay. You can't punish a child for having dumb parents, right? If you take them out of the school, they have to go back with Negroes. We're not against colored people. But the schools in D.C., now let's call them what they are, D.C. or Philadelphia schools, what is the quality of those schools? They top of the line here. I don't want to change the subject, but so our idea was, no, we'll take care of that. Because the kids they don't control their parents. So the parents' whole thing might be to get their kid into school and then stop paying. So we'll get frustrated, and which a lot of them did, right? We would get frustrated according to their thinking, and then we would keep them out or do something dumb like that. Absolutely not. No matter how far anybody got behind, we just kept putting it in. Because all the resources come from Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And they had a program, by that time they had a program of trying to take back money, like example. This is a deed to the property in Oakland. And it has my slave name up here. That's what they sent it. It has my slave name. It's from 81 for paying. It has a tax stamp. It has all that on it. Okay. So this is a picture of me being put out of that building. And of course, I was actually in there. You can see I'm half naked, no shoes on. I was in there relaxing. Technically, I was taking an enema. Coffee enema cleans you out. I just finished running. And they got me out here half naked. They come out of there. I said, I'm not coming out of there until I get dressed. So I'm barefooted. I got this. And here's Mukhtar Ali Mujahid right here. This is Mukhtar. And they sent me this picture thinking that I would be mad. I was glad. Because now this has been a wonderful experience. Nobody can imagine how much experience and how much information that we have acquired from staying on the right road. This is the deed. This is Negroes. All these police are Latinos. No Negroes. I've never been arrested in Oakland. I've been arrested at the Masjid 8 times. Never Negroes. Why? Because the Negroes know who I am. And they don't. Latinos have no idea. All the police, if it was 12 cars out there, they'd all be white men. No Negroes allowed. How could they do that in Oakland, arrange for 12 police cars to be surrounding the masjid and no Negroes in it? That means they have a selected group of people. How would I get arrested? All Latinos. The Latinos don't know the history of Oakland. They don't know the history of nothing. They're just doing their job. Okay. To pretend that there's something, this is South Africa. You look at here. This is both sides. This is from a big newspaper. U.S. Imam anti-drug message. I could have an anti-drug message because they're going to hit South Africa. What happened when they hit them with AIDS and they hit them with drugs? You can't beat those two. When I was in South Africa years ago, when you would leave South Africa and go to Botswana, next door, they would have a sign, 1 in every 7 people are infected with AIDS, da, 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 da. Not in South Africa, but in Botswana. After they got their liberation, you got AIDS and you got drugs. Okay, we don't have to go through those, when you have those diseases, drugs and what have you, you don't have to worry. You are not going to make any progress. The black community was infiltrated with drugs. They didn't make any progress after that infiltration. When they hit us in 1968 with drugs, by 1969, the rebellion was over. The last year of hot summers, right? You got to remember, 65 hot summers, watch ride. 66, then 67, Detroit. Good God Almighty. They run out the police, then they ran the doggone National Guard out. They had to bring the 82nd Airborne Division into Detroit. The Negroes took over. 2 years later, you could go into Detroit with a fly swatter. I haven't given this talk in decades, but if you study the 10 most drug-infested cities in the 1980s, you could go right back and who was the most revolutionary cities in the United States in the 1960s. It'd fall right down the line. Oakland, Philadelphia, everything right down. In fact, Oakland was sister cities almost. When I was in an organization there, that's a long story. But anyway, the brothers that soldiered with me that I liked the most was from Philadelphia. And they were like us in Oakland, except they were mean. Good God Almighty, they was mean. They would kill people and stuff. We didn't do that. At least our organization didn't do that. You study the statistics, the death rate in Oakland during, let's call it, my administration, because they called me the mayor of Oakland. We hired more people. I'm telling you, Martin Luther King's dream, he didn't get a chance to do it, but we were doing it during his time. 1968, when he moved to Chicago, right, and wanted to do a black economic enterprise zone, we was already doing it in Oakland. We was already doing it. We did it in Oakland, and everybody know it. East Oakland Enterprises. I'm telling you, we just thank Allah for allowing us to participate on that level at that time. But in later years, when they needed money, they would call us. Now, Imam Luqman's wife was from Tanzania. And she called me from Tanzania, and I had to do just like the brothers from Haiti. It was a few years ago. When they called me for a headstone, we still had access to money, to people, right? Now we don't have access. We have to go around with boxes, and the people look funny. That's why we're doing this infomercial. So they'll know that we are not beggars, we're mujahids. You have the same obligation to us as read the hadith about giving to a mujahid, about giving to the ummah when they struggling in the way of Allah. Ibn Sabil, fi sabilillah, right? Fi sabilillah mean we come under that category right away. Mu'allafatul qulub, those hearts who've recently been reconciled. That's us. We're new Muslims. Out of the 8 categories of zakat, we fall right smack dab under 4 of them easy. Fi'ar rikab, to release the neck who's, you know what I mean, been bound up with slavery or, well, police oppression. They shooting down Negroes in the street now worse than in the 60s. They can get away with it now because the Congress and everybody else have been designed. They could shoot Michael Brown and he's laying in the street, the 17, 18-year-old boy, for 4 hours. They don't even cover him up. Right? They got the man choking him with the knee for 8 or 9 minutes, whatever it is. That's the Zionist. Even the dictatorial police hadn't been doing that. The nigger haters. If they look around, like a young kid gets killed in Sacramento, if you're in a backyard by yourself, but they say you're running away, or if you're holding up your hands, they'll blow you away because ain't nobody watching. But they on film torture this brother, right? For 8 or 9 minutes with cameras on them. That's the Zionists. Exactly. Those are Zionists. That's when you know the Zionists have taken over. We knew when the Zionists had really gotten strong here because the FBI came to the Masjid. Same time they went by your house. The FBI came here. And they said, well, we're not in charge. You could take it like, well, the guy that's in charge, which was the old silly president. But no, they meant the Zionists. We're not running this anymore. But now for us, FBI, I used to have to wait in line. I had to get to the airport 3 or 4 hours ahead of time. When I came in from overseas, 4, 5, 6 hours, something like that. The FBI told me right here, we're taking all that off of you. You can go. It's all right. I thought they was lying. I went to the airport in Oakland, and I was coming back here, and I just gave my ID. They just the ticket, and okay. I said, what? Okay. Then I went to, going through the check-in line, the hold your hands. Okay, all right. I wanted to stop and say, just a minute now. Y'all have, you got to do your duty here. Hey, so the FBI was washing their hands of it. What did that mean to us? That means the FBI have been double checking for 50 years. They know who they're dealing with. They know how to punk the FBI. They know that I'm very outward about what I do. If I say something, they say this is the type of Negro that you want to have a gunfight with him. He'll say, meet me outside of town at 4 o'clock, and that's where he'll be. He won't be sneaking around and having people up on the ledge to shoot at you. You know what I mean? He'll be right there. If he say me and you, he'll be by himself. And he'll ask you, how many folks y'all got with you? We got 5. I'll be there. It sounds arrogant, but it's kind of a self-confidence. That's the way we deal with the system. They already know. There's a part of the system that know that. And they respond to that. They know that. The nigga gonna say, I'll meet y'all outside of town, at the edge of town at 4 o'clock, and he'll be there. And you bring your 5 people, it don't make no difference. Just the old, they figure if they can have an OK Corral and shoot up a whole country full of people, then one Negro, we used to believe that, that you could shoot up at least 5 or 10 white folks. It didn't come out like that, but that's what we felt, When you're oppressed by a whole group of people and you get a little smell of freedom, that's how they finished us off in all the northern cities. Because we trained a little bit and the white folks changed. And I was asking them when we was overseas, I said, well, how did they pull it off? So one brother was telling his experience. He said, one said, man, I shot the police with a .38 and it hit his ticket book. Another one said he hit the police hit the ground, rolled over and shot. They trained the police to do that. Negroes are trained, you get hit, start hollering, run around in a circle. But the police is trained train, roll over, and shoot. And we lost a lot of brothers that way. Well, how did they get set? Well, we wasn't trained for it. Our people was not trained for what we do. Number one, long-range struggle. The long-distance struggle. This is the first thing I realized when I went to Africa. All other movements had a long-range struggle where they had to fight in the woods. Even the Mau Maus, right? They had to fight in the woods for a long time, and they had to, and even the struggle in South Africa, and SWAPO and Frelimo, all in Angola. All of those people, whether they're fighting the Portuguese or the English in Rhodesia, they had a long time to train people when they got wiped down to replenish the people. So we always understood longevity, and Martin Luther King said it in his last speech. Longevity has its place, but he said, I've been to the mountaintop. In other words, whoever called him told him, you can see it in his face, that last speech, I already know I'm a dead man. Sometimes it'd be just clear that, okay, nigga, we're going to get you, you know, and they know it's delivered in a way that they know if it's not tomorrow, well, it'll be next week, the week after that. So that's what he said. Longevity has its place. So we have practiced this process that we've been involved in, had to take into account of the gains and losses and all the encounters of our people from back in slavery up till now. And one of the things that came through very clear, or two of the things, that we never had a chance for a protracted struggle. Never. And when we raised a group of people or whatever happened, if you look at Marcus Garvey did a great job. Marcus Garvey's stuff was so heavy, they was delivering it off them ships on the West African coast, on the East African coast. And when Kwame and Nkrumah and them got their liberation, that was their main inspiration. Garvey was dead. Garvey had been kicked out of the U.S., but they was inspired. Now, Garvey's movement didn't have an opportunity to move around. There was a few Garveyites. The professor was a Garveyite. His mother was a Garveyite. He was in Africa with us. He taught us a lot about the whole system. He was an older guy, and he used to always talk. His mother evidently was an official in the Marcus Garvey movement, because he would always say, Mama told me this and Mama told me that. And so as he got an adult, he moved over there. He'd been in Tanzania, I don't know how long, when we got there. We used to call him the professor because he had the griot. He had a historical knowledge of all the stuff we were interested in. Anyway, so our people never had an opportunity to struggle in the woods or build up the movement. When they cracked down on us, it didn't take them no time. They just cracked down and that was it. And the same thing with us, same thing with white kids. Like they put heroin and stuff on us, they put crystal meth and LSD on white kids. See, boss man wants to maintain his power. He has sympathy for his own children. But when he has to measure his children against the system, 95% of them are going with the system. You stupid little brat, you don't know what you're doing. Right? That's why he kills his own. And you could see the girl in the 1970 at Kent State. You could see it was not only a sadness, but what is this? What? You know what I mean? You could see what is this? What? Why? Is there any reason for this? Right? And this is, you could see it, and the whole student body felt like that, and all of America, all the white kids felt like that. We're just demonstrating. We just don't want to go to the war. Why? You're going to shoot us for that? The white man saying, "You're damn right. We got a system here. Everything we done stole from the Indians, we done enslaved Negroes. You think we're going to let you wear your hair long and run around here smoking acid and talking about make love, not war? You're going to make war. We got a military industrial complex, not a romance lovey-dovey complex. They don't have that here in America. They got a military industrial complex, right? Eisenhower told them about that. Excuse me for going off on them, but that's what they got. They got a military industrial complex, not a camaraderie, not a get-along association in America. Shoot. And every time they bomb or they're going to send some weapons over, you have to pay for it. All of that stuff that's going to Ukraine and everywhere, you're going to pay for it. And their friends are going to make all the money. And their friends are going to make sure that the people who they hire, make sure they're going to stay in power. Because the CIA and all of those people are tied into the military industrial complex. Right. And when a general so-and-so finish, he's going to go join one of those big offices. Right? Weapons manufacturers and he's an expert on TV about oogly booglyism. You want to find out about oogly booglyism? You come to me. That's what they say. That's a bunch of jive. Anyway, let me speed up a little bit. So we got a job here. This job is, I used to run, marathons, 26 miles or so. And I ran them easy, but I didn't run them fast. I ran about a 7-minute mile, stuff like that. Average, which was somewhere around 3-hour marathon. It was a medium marathon. Yeah, it was okay. But see, I wasn't, for other people could go out there and zippity and run a quick one. But I ran long distances easy. It was never no problem. I remember we run the Santa Barbara Marathon, we run it long, because you start bunching up with people that's running at a pace about like you. Actually, you make friends with them and everything. After 26 miles, and you're running along with, you feel, you ever see people start bunching up. Okay, all those people, they got a pace, they like that pace. And they're going to run with you, you help each other. They vibe. It's natural, the people don't always know it. But they vibing, okay? So they can run along at the same pace. And if they start running too fast, you might drift up back, and pretty soon you'll pick up another crew that's running, like you like. Or if these crew you with running a little slow and you're feeling like I can knock this off, you might pick up a little bit, and then you get with another crew that's got a little warmer pace, a little hotter pace. But so I learned that slow twitch muscles and fast twitch muscles. Slow twitch muscles is probably the kind I had. You can run long distances. Fast twitch muscles, these guys run sprints, 100-yard dash. I don't know if they call it that now, but they can do that. But they don't do good on long distance. or they could, but they're not into it. They fight psychologically, physically. Some people, whatever you got, you give. God will show you, and you like it. So I can run long distances without. At least I could run long distances without any trouble at all. It didn't. Okay. So this what we're dealing with is long distance. Protracted, that's what it means. This is for the long distance. This is not a sprint, right? And so you're going to have a strategy. And so Allah will give you, that's why this tawakkul and this tafweed, trusting in Allah, Allah give you. He already hooked you up, made you, but now He's going to give you a process that He knows fits what He's given you. And you can do it. To everybody else, they'd be like, oh my God, they wouldn't want to do that. But Allah gave you that because He knows what else He gave you. And then this thing about post-traumatic growth. Post-traumatic growth, like everybody, the white folks have post-traumatic syndrome, something they go through, and then it just bothers them the rest of their life. They half crazy, they taking medicine, they slobbing at their mouth. Post-traumatic syndrome, and Negroes get it too. Post-traumatic growth is different. It means you go through those things that should run everybody crazy, but you grow from it. It's as many people grow from post-traumatic growth. After the trauma, they look around and they've evolved. And you look at after you studied for an old hard test, you done got bigger. All that cramming and all those sleepless nights, you done got smarter. All you got to do now is remember because now they study for the test, and the people don't remember. I said, because I asked, I got kids, well, the test, what about Franklin Roosevelt's, program or this, that, and other? Oh, the one you was talking about, the 4 freedoms? I don't remember what they was. I don't remember 4 freedoms. Even 4. The good neighbor policy and the 4 freedoms. It was about the same time. America had been so bad to everybody in South America that he comes up, he's a hustler he says, we're going to be a good neighbor. We've invaded you guys, we've done all this. Now they call it, can you imagine the good neighbor policy? Do anybody remember that in history? The good neighbor policy. That means they've been so bad up here. They've treated people so bad south of the border that they got to have a policy that they call the good neighbor policy. You don't know what they called it down there because they was on the receiving end, right? They was on the receiving end. And when you live down there, you realize boss man was in everybody's business and all negativity, and he treated them bad then, and he's still doing it now, my goodness, and maybe up and comings. But anyway, so the distance, it has a lot to do with struggle. Because see, as you go through these long distance struggles, longevity you acquire little tidbits here, little tidbits there, and your knowledge and your endurance grows, perseverance grows, and pretty soon it's ingrained in you, it's a part of you. To persevere, to continue as a part, you don't even think about it no more. You don't have to, because it's a part of you, it's a natural part of your makeup. Your thinking, your attitude, all of those things now are a natural part of your recent and extended past history, and Allah knows it's going to take you to your future, where you want to go, or where you need to go. All right. So let's, the things you begin to realize, number one, is possible. See, if you go around to Masjid and everywhere else, the people that we have our boxes out there, they don't think it's possible to deal with boss man. Nobody in the Middle East and all those places, well, of course, Iran, Yemen, and the dear believers in, our favorite countries, they know it's possible. But every one of them is under the same type of gun as we are. For here, isolation, exclusion, sanctions, boycotts. You guys, 2 people here right there now. Because it's a sanction. The sanction been here. It was full when they thought those tricks they was pulling was going to work. We were letting them work. We knew what they was doing. When Abdul Malik them was in California, when we were making speeches all around the country at universities, we knew we wrote it in 1986. We knew what they was doing. We knew before then why we knew our history in America. So we knew what we were doing, and we knew who we was doing it with. If all the Iranians are isolated and cut off in America, right? If all the good ones go home, you know the ones that stay here are on boss man's team. That's the way it is. And you know that for years. You don't go down and tell them, I know y'all on boss man's team. No, you have to use what you have. Right? So you have to angle everything. When they realize what you're doing, and boss man realize, he tell them do what they do, and they do it. And pretty soon, anything that was coming your way, it ain't coming your way no more. Any invitation they had or they was giving out, they don't have them no more, You could tell when we went downtown, the last program like that we went to in the winter about 2-3 years ago. Remember when we went this? Yeah. They had a little phony thing. Everybody knew me, everybody. And they had people that was coming. But you could tell it was a setup. Here's a lady there talking, I used to come to your masjid, don't you remember? The guy's holding a little baby. She came to my masjid, our masjid in Oakland. She had been 60 years old. And the Iranians age, they look old. They live a long time, but they start looking old quickly. So I said, well, that was only 40 years ago. And he's holding a little baby, and he's 30-something years old, look like. So there's something lying going on here, but it's no problem. And don't you remember this? So you could tell that the team that used to be your team have turned into a bunch of liars. And everything that you've always been about, unity, you look around, there's no unity anywhere. There's no talk about unity. And all of the ulama that you see, that you know, are all handkerchief-headed ulama. They're handkerchief-headed, turban-wearing ulama. They're not mujahid ulama. Okay, so it's good to know your environment. Let me speed up here a little bit. So it's possible. But see, like this long-range stuff, they don't understand all the Negro concept of tag teamism. You're going to fight a long fight. So you choose people. When you choose people like as heroes like Jack Johnson and Muhammad Ali, right? Okay, when Jack Johnson was a champion, Jack Johnson took a dive down in Cuba. It was 100 degrees out there. In the 26th round. When you're reading about such and such they fought, then in the 45th round, you say, 40. Well, was they 1 minute round? No, they were regular rounds, and they was using gloves so small it's like getting hit with a rock. You know them little, you ever see that? Because they just started before, a few years before, they was using brass knuckles. I mean, excuse me, not bare hands, bare knuckles. Excuse me, bare knuckles. Bare knuckles, not brass knuckles. But what I was thinking, those little 2-ounce gloves that they was using, it's like brass, and your hands is wrapped up. It's like getting hit with a bat. And they fighting like Jack Johnson. He took a dive in the 26th round. If you're knocked out, you're just out. What is he? Got his hand up blocking the sun. You ever see that? How are you knocked? Why aren't you knocked out, brother? Well, that white folks said I can't do nothing, so I'm going to take a dive, and then I'm going to just take a dive. But I'm going to stay rich and have white women till the day I die. Whatever they wanted me to stop doing. He died in 1946. He was driving his big Lincoln Zephyr and crossed the white line. And they said, well, Jack Johnson crossed the white line for the last time. Boy, they was happy to see him go. But the point is this, look, they don't understand tag teamism and all that. If you look at Boss Man right now, you could tell he has been whooped senselessly. Number one, where does he go? He always go to the wrong corner. In the last 5 things, Iraq, right? He goes to the wrong corner. That's a sign, that's a symptom that he's incoherent, right? He's discombobulated, right? And he can't focus on where he's at. And Boss Man is like that. And the poor man now, he getting whooped so bad, he looks like he's in the wrong spot at the wrong time. It's just pitiful. That's the United States of America. That's the United States of America. Okay? They're not, every time I've had discussions with the FBI, I ask them, don't y'all read any history books, man? Can't you see where you are? And they just keep right on moving because they depend on, we have the power, we have the ability, and we're going to survive. You just don't know America. We pulled through. You pulled through bull crap. You ain't never had no hard fight. Their first fight was with Indians. They had guns to shoot 100 miles. The Indians had bow and arrows, right? And they just kept coming west. And they saw, well, the Indians worship the buffalo. He eats the buffalo. He builds his house out of buffaloes. So he wiped the buffalo out. They killed 6 million buffaloes. They had white people coming out on trains just shooting buffalo, leaving them to dry and rot. And the Indians, every movie you see, the Indians are surrounded and they're starving to death and they have to go on a reservation. Systematic murder. Systematic murder. Okay, so the boss man, he ain't never had to do no, the only real fight he had was when he fought himself. Good God Almighty. I mean, the numbers, 670,000 people dead, and then the camera just came out a few years before. You see all those bodies. So, man, boy. So a civil war is always more deadly. But the stuff going over to Europe, when he went over to Europe, World War I, They already been fighting 3 years, and he comes full of rest. He comes over and that's And in World War II, the same thing. Everybody else been fighting since 39. When he come in at the end of 41, everybody's in place. Everybody expended themselves already. He comes in, not one bomb fall. They did record one balloon bomb from Japan. It might have came over and fell in Portland, open Oregon somewhere. You know, a balloon, they send it up in the air, and it comes over, it drops one bomb. So they never had the World War I, World War II, they had it good. Everybody else is 3,000 miles away one way and 7,000 or 8,000 miles away over that way, right? And they can manufacture, they got oil, they got everything, and they can hook up, and they win. Then they take charge of everything. Look at the job they've done in the last 75, 80 years. The worst job you could do. The worst management disaster in history. The United States of America. The worst human management disaster. The older civilizations, you could say, they might have been trying to do as much as they could with what they had, as long as you paid the king off and all that stuff, right? Okay, but this is systematic mismanagement. That we're going to make all you people pay this, and we're going to get all the money, and you're not going to get nothing back. And he did it with everybody. He did it with everybody. He did it with the Europeans. Right now, they acting like they got a little sense. They saying we're going to do this, but they're not going to. You want us to hold back on talking about heating oil and all that stuff? You want us to freeze? And we got another month or so of freezing now, and then after we go through the nice, beautiful summer, what do you think comes after summer? Fall, and then winter. And you know European winters, they're a little chilly. Even frigid. You know, they're frigid. You know, okay. And the U.S. telling everybody, we want you to do this, we want you to do that. And submarines don't buy it from them, buy it from us. And everybody's mad at them. Now the media lies, you know, the media lies. Look at somebody else's media for a change. Look at even Indian media. Look at, don't talk about Middle Eastern media, Iranian media. Look at anybody but America. And America lies so bad, you say, why would they tell that lie? Can you imagine that's all they do is lie? That's all they do. Let me speed right up. Go ahead.
What you're doing, that's what about it? I heard that title right.
Yes.
That's what about it.
Right.
So that means you can't use that as a rebuttal because that's the creative response. What about it?
Yeah, well, what about what? What about this? What about that? What about what they do?
Yeah,
What? Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
Hey, it ain't working. It ain't working. See, all the stuff that you use, it's like a flim-flam game. You play it so much that it runs out. Everybody get used to it. You can't use it anymore. Okay, so what about ism? Everybody else say, well, what about Iraq? You invaded Iraq and you just slaughtered everybody. You did it twice, you know, and the man asked your permission. And you said, fine, go ahead. And then, what about that? You know, so we can play that whataboutism. What about Abu Ghraib? All this freedom, justice, and equality. What about sicking dogs on people and having them doing phony kind of acts with each other and, you know, it's against their... What about all of that? Yeah. What about out and out murder, right? What about you sending weapons to Saudi Arabia and Saudi Arabia is using those weapons to kill everybody, and then they ain't even returning your call. What about that? Right? What about you? You know, like, so we like that. What about, yeah, we could sit here. What about the old lady Secretary of State? Well, Madam Miss, what do you think about the 750,000 children that have died? Well, I think it's worth it. What about that? She said, that's what she actually said. And that was before the big war that came next after that. What about destroying all of Libya? The king of Africa, all the people, he helping everybody in Africa. And you kill him. And all the people now got to go to Libya and to come over and fill up Europe. What about that? What about, we don't want no niggas here, but the Ukrainians, they're blonde-haired and blue eyes, and they're welcome in Poland and everybody else. Everywhere else you got fences, no niggas and Arabs allowed, right? What about that? And then one dumb guy from Kenya, he pops up and says, in the UN, that was terrible what so-and-so did. And then the other people say, you dummy, you idiot, what's wrong with you? Who's paying you off? What about all of that? Anyway, let's continue. We were at the distance, tag teaming. Well, that's what people do. They tag teaming Boss Man now. They used to play divide, conquer, and rule. Number one, Boss Man don't have no more longevity. He can't go. He has a system that does not allow long-range planning, thinking, and everything. Everything is in a quarter. That's why if China could build a big rail system, I was looking the other day, they said China built this big rail system, and some of it, the big lines that go to the cities, it pays for itself wonderfully, right? But it has those long distance runs, and it not too many people, and it don't pay for itself. In America, they wouldn't have built that line because there ain't no money in it. But in China, they think like, look at that, that's a mistake. It's not a mistake. They're not stupid. They want to serve their people, right? And they know if they get a train line way out there in the middle of nowhere, pretty soon people will start going out there and developing it. So, huh? Of course. Okay, but people forget. You got to remember when, hey man, Transcontinental Railroad, 1869. Promise, when all the East-West met, the railroads, that was big for U.S. That's when U.S. was on the upswing. You can't stop them. They on the upswing. It's too, okay. But when they start heading down, also you can't stop them. They're like a train going down the hill. You cannot stop the U.S. decline. The U.S. would not allow you to do that. And history won't allow them. Okay, so let me speak. So we are to rescue America. We are to rescue the world. I talked about the black Congress lady. If we were now we looked at our struggle, like we said, we trained for 500 rounds, if anybody remember that. 500 rounds. We say, if we're in the 10th round right now, we are, see, when you get older, one of the best trainers, one of the best fighters technically that I knew, when George Foreman came back, George Foreman's from our area. He'd been to my house before a long time ago, but he started fighting at the Job Corps, like right around Oakland. And so he got in with all the fighters and the promoters in that area. Dirty Dick Sadler and all of them. Anyway, they call him Dirty Dick for a reason. I'm telling you, good God Almighty, make Don King look like. Anyway, when you look at what they had to deal with and the things that they were associated with, if we train for 500 rounds, that don't mean physically train. It means psychologically and emotionally. And we say we're in the 10th round, but we already know how to rest. As one of my good friends, he was really a good friend. He was what's the name's trainer. He said, when you get tired, it really makes you smart because you got to hold people. You got to do stuff, you know what I mean, to get air. You get a little breather. He said one of the best training things is to be out of shape and to, you know what I mean, because when you sparring and you ain't in no shape, you learn all kind of stuff, head button. I mean, you just be doing stuff, and you be doing it because you're tired, right? When you're not tired, you just crisp, you know. So you don't have to be smart to do that. You just do it. Okay. So sometimes getting a little winded and all of that, it helps you become slicker. We go through this whole process, and it gives you some. Although you're trained for the long distance, the reason you're trained for the long distance is because you looked at the world and you realize it's been about protractedness all the time. Very few struggles had instant result. So it would be 10 years. It would be 20 years. It would be 50 years. If it was the Irish, it would be 800 years. That's long. That's a struggle there. That's a struggle, 800 years. And you look at all of that. You see what I mean? All right. So you get a lot of game. And the Muslims that we're living with and around right now, they're technically afraid of the system. They are technically afraid. Let's just say it. They're afraid of the white man. Okay. So right now we're raising money. Remember, y'all watching this. We're going to deliver this. We want you to support us. We are not afraid of the system. We're not going to get you in trouble. We don't want you to do nothing. You just help us. We're the mujahids, right? You give and you help and you aid and you assist us. We're not going to come and ask you to stand out in the middle of the street with the white man's train going by because you're afraid. It's not good to go to war with people who are afraid. When they start break and run, everybody else look around and they say, I don't want to be the last one here. So they start running too. So in a struggle, you want to have people with you that's going to stick, that signed on for it. I signed on for this struggle. You don't want people, so therefore you did not sign on for this struggle. We did. It would be classified as a miracle. We already know that. We already know that. We've studied all other moves. We're a miracle for America. You know, our leaders, Malcolm King, all them people, they wiped them out just like that. We had to study, well, what happened so fast? That's what it was, so fast. It happened just like that. And then who do they bring in? Look at the people they bring in. Old Messy Jesse. Oh, what's this old Negro can't hardly talk, a famous lawyer now, or whatever, Crump. Crump in there. So I remember the name. Somebody said his name the other day on TV. And this sister talked about what Black Lives Matter had done to her, right? And she mentioned them people. Yeah, you see her? Yeah, she mentioned all of Black Lives Matter, them Negroes, $800,000 bank accounts and all kind of stuff. They just when we see the thing, it's just what we've been saying it is all the time. We have not made any mistakes on anything we've called. If we said that's a coon, it's a coon. And you can argue all you want. But in 5 minutes or in a month or in a year, somebody's going to come and say they're going to identify. What's the lineup? Run the people by and say that's a coon right there. Right? In the lineup, he's standing there, minding his own business, that's a coon. Right? Just like we have. Because see, struggle gets you, you learn what everything is and who everybody is because you're dealing with struggle. So whether you say it or not, you still know what it is. All right. We talked about Jack Johnson, we talked about Muhammad Ali, but we chose them as examples years ago. Let's call it decades ago. Because of their style of fighting. Okay. And they prove themselves. That's the stuff they use. Jack Johnson was so effective, they ain't let nobody fight after him for the championship. No Negro till Joe Louis fought. And he almost had to have a white folks agreement. I won't shake hands with white women. I won't look at them. I definitely ain't going to try to take none of them out. I ain't doing none of that. I'm going to be a good Negro. He had to sign a good Negro agreement. Right? Everybody knows it. He had to, I will not do that. If you give me a fight at this championship, I'll do that. And he was always a good brother. Okay. As-Sabiqun, all we've done is what As-Sabiqun are supposed to. They anticipate. We've had lectures on it. They anticipate. How could we not anticipate what's going on here in America? This is where we're from. And we've been all around the world studying everybody's struggle. So pretty soon you can anticipate. That's what As-Sabiqun do. They anticipate what's going to happen. As we said, boss man, he done been to the wrong corner. It seems like it's some type of esoteric punishment that they have Trump as president and they have the dumb, what's his name? It's like, actually it's pitiful. It's pitiful to see that man perform. What's your name? My name is Johnny Walker. Your name is President Johnny Walker? Yeah, I'm president. Well, I mean, sometime I go by the name of Joe Biden, but you know what I mean. That's when I go to Delaware. I'm just telling you, it's like that. It's pitiful. It's pitiful. But see, during the end of an era, when a champion steps down with dignity, his name can carry. But the U.S. is not stepping down with dignity. It chose to fight with China. We're going to fight with you guys. Right? So now, this post-traumatic growth is a natural part of us because we understand that the more challenges we face over a long period of time, the more we're going to grow and develop. So we have beaten boss man with the hammer of time. Let me go over that a minute. We have beaten boss man with the hammer of time. We are beating him right now with the hammer of time. Okay. FBI, So again, dear people, this is an infomercial. And what we want to do is, we want you to help us. We don't want you to do anything. So we also want you to be specific about raising money on our behalf. Okay, all of y'all go to these big shows all around. We're suggesting that a group in your community collects for Eid a certain amount of wealth. Remember, you don't have to give your money at the masjid. You find out the best way to give zakat is what? Find out somebody who needs it. Give it to them. We're fighting the whole United States government. We ain't even batting an eye. You wouldn't like this job. We like it. We love it. I'm telling you, we sleep good every night, and we like this. You know, it's the answer to a prayer. We want it, we want to do this. It's like, you don't want to do it. So what we're saying is, we'll fight the monster, but you help us. So we want groups of y'all pre or during Ramadan to collect money. Now we're going to pass this out to y'all. So we want all of y'all to be collecting money for Zakatul Fitr on our behalf. And we're going to use it for all of those 8 classifications of Zakat, and this is Sadaqatul Fitr. We're going to use it for those things. We're not going to use it like CARE. You gave CARE millions. I'm telling you, I've been at the fundraiser. Millones. You gave AMC. A lot of people don't remember AMC down in American Muslim Council. Millions of dollars. You've given the other groups. All they got to do is raise funds, and you raise millions of dollars. Okay, in America, we know what we have been doing. We stayed out of your business for all of these 40 years to give you time to build up these super institutions. If we would have been around talking the talk that we talked to you, and you would have listened to what we were saying, you would be broke and in jail just like we are. Because boss man wouldn't have put up with it, right? And you know that. So we have taken the heat for you. That's what we've been doing. We don't change our, look, we know what we're doing. We have taken the heat for you guys. Now, this is a big struggle now. This is beyond just the Muslims and fi sabilillah. This is a global reality. We have to fix this world. We have to rearrange the world that we're living in. That's what we have to do. The one that you see now is going out. You don't know how long it's going to be here. Because these people are in a rush doing the same thing and worse. If it's a war in Ukraine, they got the military industrial souping it up. And they want to build more aircraft carriers and more jets. One jet you could build, for one jet, you could build a university. One jet. In one aircraft carrier, you can build and support a whole plethora of institutions. And they're wasting all that money. That means they don't care nothing about you. I'm telling you. These people don't care nothing about you. They talking about, oh, we bad. Ain't nothing wrong with us. Actually, we good niggas. We just the nicest niggas you ever seen. You ain't seen nobody nice as we are. I don't care what you say. Go in the book and try to find somebody any better or nicer. Okay. So we taking the heat to draw the heat from you. On ourselves away from you. Because we're used to it. We like it. We know you wouldn't last no time. Probably you might be afraid of. If any of y'all have ever heard of Tariq bin Ziyad, you know the mountain, it's called Gibraltar. Jabal Tariq. Why? They came over and they burned all the boats. And said, okay, you got the enemy out there and you got the water, so that's it. Yeah, Tariq bin Ziyad. Man, Tariq bin Ziyad, he was big. He said, okay. And they was in Spain for 700 years, you know. They was there for 700 years. Tariq bin Ziyad. Okay. He said, there's the ocean and there's the enemy. And burn the boats. And he burned them. So they couldn't leave. It was a pretty good move. You ain't got nowhere to go. But there, okay, we burned all our boats. We don't have no security. We've been going straight for boss man, and it's getting worse. We're not decreasing. Anybody thought we was going to get quiet and maybe a little older. That was, y'all are the slowest people in the world. That is the biggest, the simplest trick to use on you and your boss. That we're old and tired. You don't get old and tired. Sometimes you do. But one thing, when you get old, you get set in your ways. You just do the stuff. This is what we do, right? You get set in your, people say, when they say, oh, he just set in his ways. Sure. And the older he get, the more he does that. Whatever that is, they do that. They do that. They don't do nothing else. So we're set in our ways. All of y'all that was sitting up and hoping, and well, time will get, time will take you out, and you'll get sad because nobody will help. Well, if you're raised in the penitentiary and you lead riots and you do all that stuff, Allah will train you for the job. You'll be trained to be by yourself, where you actually like it. You know, in heaven, sitting around, studying and writing, is heaven. So we call work going out and messing around. That's like actually work. It's fun too, but being by ourselves is not. It's easy, especially if you've been in jail a long time and you always went to the hole. You know, the white man used to have a saying, "Well, I put you so far in the hole, we're gonna have to pump sunshine to you." That's what the white man said, and he almost meant it. He put you so far back in the back or on the bottom that they have to pump sunshine to you. Not really, but that's what he means. You're not going to see any daylight, real daylight, for a long time. That's a mean old guy. See, y'all think the boss man is just semi-mean. This guy, he's not semi-mean. He is really heartless. I mean, the guy is unbelievable. And now he's being ran by the Zionists. They're worse than he is. Mean old boss man is, he's not as mean. I don't care what you think about those guys. They're not as mean as the Zionists. Okay, history extended period. Imam Jamil Alameen. We like to do stuff to help Imam Jamil Alameen. But we can't help him right now. We haven't been able to help him in years. We used to have fundraisers all the time for Imam Jamil Alameen. All the time. And we gave them to the people down there. We won't do that anymore. Whatever we do, we're going to do it ourselves. Because the people were who we thought they was all the time. The people were who we thought they was all the time. You can still hear it pretty good? Okay, all right. So we'll move toward a close. Dear believers, we have people who need our help in places like Haiti, and eventually we're going to have to answer the call, and we don't want to tell them, well, we can't do anything for you. You know, see, they have real needs. We have, let's call them semi-needs. But in Haiti, they done had 50 disasters, one after another. And the old Reverend, what's that old Reverend white man? He said the reason that they having so much trouble in Haiti is because they rebelled against the French leadership. That's what the old preacher, I'll think his name in a minute. The old preacher, 700 Club preacher, something like that. No, he said that. He said, yeah, no, he said it. He said it that's the reason that they have so much trouble, because they freed themselves from white domination. We got to remember Pat Robertson. Yeah. Palestine, Yemen, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Iran. These people are really doing the best they can. And that don't mean nobody's perfect, but it means they're doing. So we would have to congratulate Iran for not being Libya. Congratulate Iran for helping and supporting Syria. Iran for helping hold Yemen together, for being the biggest supporter of Palestine, for not joining the Zionists who are sucking up all the Arabs into this counter-Palestinian struggle, and that's their business. So Iran is when I say that, I mean the country of Iran. Iran is really a modern miracle. If you watch the stuff they're doing, it's not only in economics, it's not only going by these sanctions and what have you, and it hurts them, but they still there. Just like the stuff they do, it bothers us, but we're still here. See, we're still here, and they done threw everything. Can you imagine what they've done to us? You know what I mean? Just imagine. This sign says Masjid al-Islam, not Okefenokee. And this says Masjid al-Islam. They're arresting me at Masjid al-Islam, and everybody in town know that I've been staying there for years. Sleep in a little room on the side, the hallway, and I sleep in a little room. I've been there for years since we opened up. Right? Okay. They know what they're doing. That means the Zionists, the same legal stuff like in Palestine, they said that's a Ottoman deed. It don't hold up with us. Well, the people been there since Ottoman times, so it means, it don't hold up with us. It's not a Zionist deed. Okay. Welcome, Imam Abdul Ali Musa. Well, now you got to remember, our friends here, they take a turn too. They take a turn, and all of a sudden, you find out about the global Islamic movement. Because when you're a part of the global Islamic movement, the global movement has to turn against you and turn away from you. I'm going to just show you, this is kind of slick. This is a long time ago. This must be 68. Free Huey, that's not a marijuana plant, although it looks like one. Free Huey, the general uniform of those days. There's dear Muhammad Ali. We're going to see him. He's there with the sister from your area, Wilma Rudolph. They're there together in Oakland, and they're raising money for him, and we hook him up. That's what we do. That's what we do then. Now, this is one of the kind of funny pictures. Nobody should laugh, but this is Big Hank here. Now, this is the last stage of buffoonery, because although a lot of my outfits was black and white, like my car is black and white. But this is getting kind of clownish. It's not like this is sharp. This is just the opposite of that. But to me, that looks better. This, and if you look at this car right there in the back, I remember that car. That is a 68 Toyota. In those days, we used to laugh at it because one of our friends, one of the girls brought that, and we used to laugh, Toyota, a toy, what is the, yeah. And now you know about Toyota, right? I'm telling you. Okay, so what this does mean is that you've had a chance to have all the things that they call good. And I just want y'all to know it ain't no comparison to what we're doing now. And to prove it, you go to Hollywood and you see all them people. They got all this stuff, except modern. It ain't doing them no good. They half crazy. The more they have, the worse they're doing. Why? Because they was promised, if you get 1 million fans and several $1 million and a big house with 2 swimming pools, you're going to be happy. Well, why the hell ain't none of them happy? Why do all of them have psychiatrists? And the psychiatrist might have a dress on with some polka dot underwear or something. I don't know, and be a boy too at that. And they're trying to figure why everybody's effed up. That'll help you. Now, I'll move toward a close. Psychological guerrilla warfare. Boy, look at here. We done whooped the white man, the Americans, so bad with this stuff right here. Psychological guerrilla warfare. It is regular warfare, except it's psychological. Guerrilla warfare is a small group, not messing with a big, you know what I mean? And you last longer. Psychological guerrilla warfare. That means it's mental. So we don't have no bombs to fight no boss man. Who would use them anyway? We wouldn't use them. But the mind. Boy, look at here. We talk about boss man so bad, we done run him crazy. We done helped this psychosis he's in. When he's paralyzed, you seem like boss man is paralyzed, we help him do it. We've helped discombobulate it. Now you got to study that. Discombobulated. That means we didn't hit boss man with vibrating hands. I know y'all don't believe in that stuff, but let's not leave everything out. Hit him so hard and so slick like that he keeps on walking and talking, and all of a sudden he just collapses in the middle of the street. Don't nobody know how. That's the vibrating hand. So psychological warfare has that. Okay, why is boss man acting so stupid now? He can't do nothing right. He get a Negro president, he's the worst Negro. He's the worst for Negro to us. Oh, man, good God Almighty. Okay, then they get another one. And Don is like, I don't know, that boy is so silly. I already got Adolf Hitler stuff right there next to him. And when I hear him, I already know what I'm listening to. The defense of the fatherland, the defense of Deutschland. Every lecture, when they translate anything Hitler was saying, that's what he was saying.
That was his inauguration speech.
Yeah.
The defense of the homeland, president of law, and all. He took it straight from
straight from the Führer. Look here. He took it from the Führer himself. Right. But he's crazier than the Führer. You know, because the Führer he messed up on a lot of things. He messed up with Russia. He messed up with killing all the people that knew how to fight and scared them to death. Well, it's good. Who wants him to be around, you know? And although he wanted Negroes to help him, the Japanese especially, the Black Dragon Society, I don't want to go in it in, but the Nation of Islam, the lamb was associated with the Black Dragon Society, the Japanese. And the Nation of Islam was happy about the Japanese because the Japanese was people of color fighting this mean old Euro and stuff like that. Although, we're not pushing Japan in World War II or anything like that. Fundraiser for the family of Imam Jamil. Okay, I'm going to close with this. Suppose somebody been in jail for, let's say, over 20 years. And the stuff they're doing is not necessary. They're ruining his community. They're taking the community legally out of his name, which is not necessary. And in a movement, a real Islamic movement, when the Imam goes to prison, that don't mean he stops being the Imam. I don't care whether it's Ikhwan al-Muslimin, I don't care whether it was Imam Hassan al-Banna, I don't care whether it's Sayyid Qutb them. They always, in fact, Sayyid Qutb's best writing was from in prison. Tafsir of Quran was in prison. They don't say, you're in prison, you can't, we're finished with you. But they would try to break the heart of our leadership. Okay, and I'm going to move toward a close with this. Listen, people, no one in America has taken the whole movement in its concern and under its wing. We are the whole movement. We're not part of any idiotic, with a special crew, the saved. We ain't saved. Niggas don't get saved. The Christians get saved. We're not saved sect. We're not the saved. We ain't saved. The niggas don't get saved. They go to the church. Then they can get saved. Yeah, if you want to get saved, get yourself a little of Jesus type stuff, and even that ain't gonna work. I'm just trying to tell you, what we want to do is we want to restructure the world in which we live in for the good of humanity. And we want to do it flying the flag of Islam, and we want you to help us. So we're going to pass out. Let me go over what we're going to do again. We're going to get this done. We're going to pass it out. From now, during Ramadan and all that period. For the Eid, or even before, we want y'all, the Muslim masses, to either form teams or support networks. And if any of your so-called leaders or any of these masajid around you tell we're taking their money, then something is wrong with them. Something is wrong with them because how they're not going to see what we're doing. Everybody knows we're not CARE, we're not AMC, we're not none of those people. That anything that we come in contact with of wealth, we're going to spend it all. You can look at the 8 categories and then the other categories of sadaqah, infaq, and zakah. We're going to follow all of those rules. We always have followed all those rules. Okay, so we want you to form Masjid al-Islam support networks. When you see us coming with boxes, or we want a crew of all of y'all, all out in Virginia, in Maryland, and in D.C., to save your money to give to us. It will not hurt. Look, they got joints out there. I hear they got 10 or 12 satellites. They got so much money, the money is dripping out of their ears. If you guys if 10% of you get together and each, say a Dar Hijra, and you give it to us. First of all, zakat, you should find the people yourself in need. Look at any fiqh book. Don't it say that? It don't say the fat cats are here. They have salaries of so many hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you have to help pay their salary. They got workers sweeping up, making 40, 50, something like that, enough to eat and eat good, right? Okay. There's one part of zakat, not only mu'alafatul qulub, those hearts recently been reconciled, al-gharimin, mu'alafatul qulub, fiya rikab. Okay, that's one's enslaved. Ibn Sabil, in the way that Ibn Sabil means son of the highway or son of the road. Those traveling and working in the way of Allah. Right? And then us, those whose hearts have been reconciled. Fiya rikab, one wants to release the bond of slavery, our neck, rikab, from around our neck and your neck too. So we fit those categories. Technically, we fit just about every one of them categories. Because you can use the money to help release someone called Malana Maududi for bail money and all of that. So we're using it to fight cases for Imam Jamil. And remember, we have cases too. Yeah, we have cases, like cases in court. And legally, man, they done did us so ridiculous that it's unbelievable. And we want to close with this little reminder. This is one of our old ones here. The Great Recovery. A setback ain't nothing but a setup for a comeback. That's one of our favorite ones. See, in the Negro life, in the hustling life, you was always making a comeback. Not only boxing world, but you'd get rich, then you get broke, you go to prison, you always had to make a comeback. Now, the thing about it is, where the rubber ball is, you throw it down, it bounces right backwards. Throw it down, bounce. As the years go by, you throw that boy down and it don't bounce back as much. It don't. We're different. The older we get, the certainty of our recovery is there, not quickness. You know what I mean? You're quick when you're young. When you get older, you might slow down a little bit. You can take pills. You can drink water. Don't make no difference. You're going to slow down a little bit. But slow is not bad. Slow is good when you use it right. Like right now, all the stuff that happened, this has happened over, if it happened to other people, some of this stuff happened 30 years ago, some even 40 years ago, right? And we look at it almost all like it's all the same time. That's what longevity is. We've been here all this time. Longevity is one of the greatest blessings and movement that you could have, actually in life too. Because you get a chance to be around for decades and you learn. Not only do you learn, it get ground in that it's a part of you. You don't have to look up, you don't have to read nothing, figure out nothing. It's in you. That's what we need here in America, and that's what we got. So y'all want to help the movement here in America, you help us. Okay, don't worry. Don't worry. All the institutions and everything we build from right here, inshallah, will be institutions that is necessary for the propulsion or the development of Islamic movement right here in North America. Yes, it is. That's what we're going to do. That's our goal. And you study our history. You just look up Masjid al-Islam. Look up Imam Abdul Alim Musa. Now the Zionists going to lie. Don't worry about it. The more they lie, the better it is. You just keep searching. You're going to find, wait a minute, they said that. Everything we said, hey, I don't care. You go back. The Russian shoe have fallen. Da, 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 and Boss Man is next. Years ago, right? I don't know if anybody remembers. It's already, Boss Man is next. This is a surprise for you. It's not a surprise for us. Why? That's the way it's been hooked up. Okay, so remember, we want y'all to support this aspect of the movement because we're going to use whatever you give us for just what it's laid out to be. Lifestyle is the same as it's always been. That means that anything you give us, we're going to use on the movement. We're not going to use it to buy a new house or to live somewhere. We don't use money like that. We never have. We never have. So remember, the last thing, this PTG, this means we lose post-traumatic growth. Everything Boss Man ever did to us, everything the Negroes ever did to us, everything, all of them as a collective, then helped us be the way we are right now. Happy, semi-healthy, and ready to roll. And the last thing I'm going to say, so you understand it, technically I've never been this happy in my life, nor did I expect it to be that. Didn't even think it was not necessary. Just medium happy is fine. Just not being sad. Good enough. But not get up in the morning grinning and go to bed grinning. That's nice. That's because of the life you can live at the same time. You can do that too. You don't think it ain't me just doing it. If I can get rich, you can get rich, right? That's what the pictures say. If I can get happy, you can too. But you got to be doing what's right. You can't be robbing the people and happy. In fact, you don't find none of the people robbing people happy. All you find is people robbing other people and needing psychiatrists and sociologists and everything else. And they dropping a lot of pills and they drinking a lot of whiskey and they going to this, that, and other, and it ain't helping them none. Boy, I'm telling you, you want to be happy and healthy, you take it from your dear Imam Musa. Boy, look at here. You know, I wouldn't lie to you. I'm not a politician, so I won't do that. Anyway, thank y'all very much. Are there any questions or comments about anything that we said?
Just only a comment. Well, today's gospel, the brother did say that you are correct in your analysis in your lections. That's what the brother said.
Alhamdulillah.
But the rest are just salams.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Well, okay. All right. Well, when you